So welcome. It's time to then tell you about the good sides and bad sides of this build. Let's start with the good side because, you know, we always start with the good side. First of all, I think this red and black theme looks absolutely amazing. Super beefy. I like that everything is color coded in there. I like that even the Corsair fans from the front over there, they look super nice because they actually face from the backwards. You know, you look at the back of the fan and you can still see the red over there. It looks absolutely fantastic. Let me know in the comment section below if you enjoy this red and black build. Everything is black and red. Even the motherboard is completely black, which is absolutely amazing. It's hard to find a motherboard that's completely black, like, you know, stealth black, but this is one of those. Even the motherboard LEDs or anything that over there they're just red. So by the way, if you want to go with any other color theme, then you can't change those motherboard error codes or CPU temp lights that are on the motherboard there. They're always red. So just in case if you like a blue build, these will be red. Second of all, I want to say that building inside this case was absolutely amazing. It's very easy because there was a lot of room. Our 1390 over here looks incredibly big, and I think if you would have went with any of the smaller cases, it just would have not fit in there. So I'm glad we gone with this one. So H510 from NZXT would have been probably a bad choice because it would have literally been all the way almost to the front. This is much better. The case has a lot of cable management, a lot of room, a lot of adjustment things and flexibility to do it in the case. Plus I love how this back side of the case comes off with just one button and then it just pops up. It is an amazing case, and even usually, you know, NZXT cases aren't very good airflow, but you know what, this is not too bad because we have airflow from the bottom of the front, from both sides of these, and then from the top we have exhaust or intake, however you want to go put them. Obviously exhaust for my case. I did change the case fans out there to the Corsair ones because of the color, and I think they're a little bit better as well as the back one over here. This is the AER RGB 2 second of the NZXT ones. So there's like a few of the NZXT fans that are just connected together, and then a Corsair fans, but all of them kind of look red and things like that. Another thing I want to mention is when you use PSU extension cables, like in here on the graphics card, motherboard, you know, and CPU in there, often I see people use, like, you know, fully modular power supplies. But the thing is, you're not going to see those cables anyway, so there's no point in going fully modular, but you can go semi-modular. For example, in our case, this is semi-modular power supply, 1000 watts over there. I know it could have been a bit less as well, but you know what, sometimes the GPUs, like, they peak a little bit more and things like that. Even though this GPUs of 1390s, the recommendation is 750, so we want to be a little bit safe and go with 1000, but you know, the rules say 750 should be more than enough. Another thing I really like about this is that the motherboard is completely black, and it's got a lot of good features that you want without breaking the bank too much. You've got your BIOS flash button on the back, seamless clear on the back. You've got Wi-Fi built in, Bluetooth built in. You've got 3 M.2 slots over there. You've got USB-C connectivity, a lot of system fan ports, a lot of SATA ports. Because it's X570 as well, a lot of these M.2 slots are a PCIe 4.0, and you can use the PCIe 4.0, which is amazing. Which leads me to the next point. There is incredibly fast SSD inside, which also helps with the load times. But one thing I have noticed is that the boot time of this motherboard and SSD and things like that is super fast. By the way, if you didn't know what parts I'm using, I'll leave the full links in the description below. And if you want to see the live stream of when we're building this I'll leave that in the description as well. But this motherboard is just fantastic, and if you want to do any overclocking on things like that, this motherboard has 2 times 8-pin CPU powers, so on the top of there, not just 4+4 but 2 of those, so if you want to use that, as well as the reset and power button are on the motherboard. If you just want to use this on a test bench, it is fantastic, and it comes like 250 quid, depends on the stock and availability and pricing, but I think you get quite a lot of features for your money, which is fantastic, and it looks super stealth. And when going with MSI motherboards, I have found that it's quite easy when you get like the Dragon Center on the motherboard. It just downloads all your nice chipset and drivers. It's very easy with that. And now I had so much more trouble when using NZXT motherboards, for example, and going with Intel systems. So this one, it was very easy configuring all the drivers. Going back to the case, what I forgot to mention is that the case has 5 2.5-inch SSD drives or hard drive bays over there. Now I have taken them out, but it comes with one on the front over here, and then 2 like strapped on this power supply kind of shrouds or on the top over here, and then there's 2 more in the back of the case, which is fantastic if you want to use this for content creation, or you know, like as a creator and you need a lot of SSD storage or 2.5-inch hard drive storage. There's a lot of these available on the case, plus there is 2 3.5-inch SSD or hard drive. I don't think there's 3.5-inch SSDs available, but 3.5-inch hard drives in the bottom over there as well, so you can slot 2 hard drives in there if you need to. Oh, I didn't mention how fast the SSD is on this. The SSD is absolutely ridiculously fast. It is 7,000 megabytes per second read speeds and 5,000 megabytes write speeds or something like that. Yes, that is megabytes, which means it's 7 gigabytes per second and 5 gigabytes per second read and write speeds, which is insane. If I'm not mistaken, this is the fastest SSD in the world, and it is Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus. So one of those, if you want to pick one of those up, it is linked below. Okay, so this is the good sides. So now let's talk about the bad sides. And I'm going to start with quite a big bad side, or quite a big downside. I'm going to go into it in another video a bit more, but the 5800X Ryzen 7 5800X likes to run really hot. Now, it's not that big of a problem if you probably use more single-threaded applications where the CPU is not utilized 100%. It's not that bad, but it is still quite a high like idle temperatures. When you do like a Cinebench run or do any CPU intense rendering, for example Blender benchmarks when I did that, or Geekbench, Cinebench, the CPU goes very hot. Like it runs easily on 80 to 83 degrees there, just like in the low 80s, and I'm like, whoa, that is quite hot. And at first I thought this is like a problem on mine, and I thought, why is the contact on the CPU bad? And then I checked that is fine. And then I'm just checking, is maybe there's something wrong with the cooler, because we're using the Kraken X73 RGB, which is like 360mm AIO, and it should be like one of the best that you can get, right? But then I found out that that is just how it likes to run on 100% CPU utilization. It just runs very hot. It just likes to run hot, okay? And then eventually, you know, it's gonna boost down. The all-core boost clock is gonna go from 4.5 to 4.3, around there. That's what I saw like on my this when testing this. So another thing that was quite annoying was the NZXT CAM control box, or smart device little controller where you plug like your fans in, or RGB controllers or RGB stuff in. That is, it seems to be always having problems with me. And when you do like an NZXT case build and AIO build, it's just best to have everything NZXT. I didn't have NZXT fans in the front over there because, you know, the RGB is from the front of the fan, and you know, I'm not gonna mount these the other ways because obviously I want them to be intake. So I'm looking at the back of the fan, so I'm seeing no RGB. So I wanted something that would be red from the back as well, which I went with Corsair. Now I plugged those Corsair fans into the smart device little hub, and it just wouldn't work. It just doesn't recognize them, doesn't turn them on. They sometimes, when you turn the computer on, they come on, but then as soon as the NZXT CAM actually launches, they turn off, which is, to me, it just sounds like NZXT is just saying, you know, like the Apple type of, you know, attitude that, no, it is not ours, so that's why we are not letting you use it, if you know what I mean. So this didn't work quite well with the NZXT CAM, but you know, there's plenty of system fan ports on the motherboard, so plugging them in there, they were completely fine. But would have been nice to have them all in there. Another thing is the Kraken wires. This Kraken wire is USB, micro USB port for, I think, controlling them. It goes micro USB to USB 2 port in the bottom over there. So if you want to put it on the motherboard and control, you know, the RGB and stuff on there, that's a little bit confusing. Also, there's a little bit of wire confusion there as well, because there's like an RGB controller cable, which I didn't plug in, and you don't need to, but you can connect it into like the set of, oh, fan noise.
3 hours later.
You can connect that in, but it was just a little bit confusing, and with the instructions that was fine. But I wish there was like just less cables, or just them coming similar cables, because you have a very thick micro USB cable that goes into USB 2.0 port on the motherboard. I don't know, just a little bit, you know, I wish that was a little bit smarter. I like how the fans are. You've got two cables, one is kind of connecting to RGB and the other one that, but this is just seems like a lot of things going on. Not too big of a deal, but just like a little bit confusing when building. Also, this case has like a little LED around the power button, and it's constantly white, and there is no way to configure that RGB, which I wish there was, because you can buy a case, you know, like red and black design. I wish that case button could be RGB configured as well, so you could put it, you know, red. Another thing is just like a little review of this GPU, which is a RTX 3090 by INNO3D. It's iChill X4 model of the 3090. And you can control the RGB through the actual manufacturer's software, where you can overclock the GPU and, you know, do the RGB. But there's also like an RGB2 headers on the side over there, one 4-pin and one 3-pin. So if you want to plug it into like your motherboard J RGB port with 4-pin, or J rainbow port with 3 pins, you know, like 5 volt and 12 volt separately, you can do that. But when I did that, I couldn't get it work with MSI motherboard like the MYstic Lite. It's just like when I was there, I could see that something's plugged in there. I'd select it, and then nothing's changing. There is like colors started to change, but then it didn't change. But anyway, just I couldn't get it working. There was a little bit of this, but the actual motherboard and like software seemed to be configured okay. I had to restart the computer a few times, and then it started working. Last thing I want to mention, like a downside, is ports for the GPU. This GPU is very, very expensive. It comes in like £1,800 on its own, or I don't know how much it would be in dollars. And that is like more expensive than RTX 2080 Ti. And the 2080 Ti Founders Edition, for example, has a USB-C port, which I've found very, very helpful. I wish there was one on this RTX 3090 as well, but there isn't. There is only 4 ports, 1 HDMI and 4 display ports. And this is just like a little overview of the build. I'm going to go a little bit more into some other things. So if you enjoy this video, feel free to check out the build video live stream where I actually built this. Stay tuned for other videos in the future. Thanks very much, guys, for watching. Hit that like button if you did find this video helpful. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.